Good afternoon, everybody. Well, we've got a big project to do in the garage. Seeing as I can't ride, need to get ready for spring riding and fall riding. And the way I'm going to do that is with these Harley Davidson heated grips. So I know that a lot of us talk about, well, Harley Davidson stuff's so expensive and it's for nothing. Well, when it comes to heated grips, actually, I did a lot of research. OCD, can't just buy stuff without researching it to death. And everything I found is that the off-brands that slide in the bars, etc., just don't cut the mustard. They don't have good heat transfer. So everything else I read and watched said that the Harley Davidson ones are better. And I do have a friend with the set of these, and I went, and they go up to 6 on the dial, and at 3, you can hardly hold on to the hand grip. So that's great heat transfer. And next, I looked at the instructions, and I think that these instructions from Harley Davidson have one purpose and one purpose only, and that's to make you take your bike to the dealer because it's like, oh my God. So, I feel that I have enough years under my belt of twist and wrenches and electrical, etc., that I can just take these and go like this and say, screw Harley Davidson's instructions. I'm going to go through it myself. Okay, so after I started this, it occurred to me that, well, how many people are going to put Harley Davidson heated grips on their bikes? Yeah, there's going to be a few, I think, just by the scope of this, unless you are really into working on your bike or you are a mechanic, you're probably going to take this to the dealer. And let me show you why. Looks pretty benign, right, so far, but as you will see, this is a lot of work. So I had to strip off the fuel tank and to get at these wiring boxes so I can run the wires down. So I had to strip the bike down a fair amount. Okay, so we pulled the bag, we pulled off the seat, we pulled off the fuel tank, which had a few hoses and the main wiring harness from the batwing, basically back down to the harness in the bike. So a lot of machine exposed to do this. Okay, and that being said, obviously we had to get the bike down this far and haven't even started on actually putting the heated grips on yet. So next thing to do is we're going to have to take the batwing off. Now, you know, I probably could fish them through there, but that sounds like a lot of work. And this gives me an opportunity to pull lighting and clean it up and maybe even switch over to LED lighting in my So once I actually got into the full scope of what goes on here, I thought, you know what, who's going to sit and watch, well, I would have to compress hours of video down into what? You know, people don't want to watch a 20-minute video of you working screws. And so what I decided to do is I'm just going to do little parts and pieces. So most of you, if you're going to tackle stuff like this, you know how to pull off your saddlebags. You know how to pull your seat off. You may or may not know how to pull your fuel tank off. Maybe I'll just highlight that on the way back in. Pretty simple. 2 hoses, 1 wiring harness, and then there's a jumper line in the front that goes around the frame, which is a bit of a pain in the neck because, of course, I had to do this when my fuel tank is full because I filled it full of premium and some stabilizer to put away for the winter here. So that made it a little more challenging, so I made a bit more of a mess. But I pre-made some plugs for that hose end for the line on the bike, the little metal nipple that comes off the tank itself. So anyways, so what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you parts and pieces as we go, more I get taken apart, and we'll spend the real time, I guess, on the actual wiring of the grips themselves, taking the bike apart and putting it back together. Some basics, but you probably know what you're doing anyway. So anyhow, stay tuned, more to follow. Okay, more progress. It doesn't actually take you very long, but if you've never seen what the front end of your bike looks like without your batwing on it, well, that's what it looks like. So a couple of things, real simple. If you have the Ultra Classic and you have the road lights, they go up underneath the sides and they are in the way to take your bat wing off. But real simple, one screw right up there and one down would be about right here. And this will just set down, and of course always put something over your fender anyway. So I put that there to set the bar on, plus to bring the bat wing down on, because you do have to, as you can see, unplug your light and stuff. It's also a great opportunity to polish some chrome you can't really get at as a rule. I see now I don't have to pull off the inside instrument cluster like on the 14 and newer. I can just get the wires in right down there. So anyways, all that out of the way, not much left of it. Looks like I've had a bad accident. Anyways, now I'm going to get at pulling off the handle grips and the switches and start running wire. Okay, well, we're to a point now where we've got the bar exposed. We've taken off the clutch lever bridge and the mirror assembly. And of course your switch box just hangs on the wires there. We don't need to disturb that. And I'm gonna give you a little tip right now. I took a really, really fine Sharpie and I made just the thinnest little black line here. It's important to know where everything was for it to work exactly the way it did before. Was it critical? No. Can you adjust your clutch? Yes. But it was all your rider comfort and the positions that you're used to being in. So just a tip, if you're going to do something like this, you do anything, you're on an adjustability issue, make sure you make a little mark. And incidentally, while I'm in here, I did find an issue, and that is this this plug right here that goes onto this, well, I call it the cigarette lighter, but your 12 volt supply on the other side of the fairing here, right up in here. So I've never used that. I've never had to charge anything while I'm on my bike, and it was melted. So this was all melted and burnt. So somebody overloaded this, whoever had the bike before me. So stuff like this, you get to find stuff like that and make repairs. Okay, so if you have an 07 like mine, you're still not fly-by-wire, you have cables. So to get the cables off and the grip off, well, you don't take the cables off, is you got to loosen the jam nut all the way on, so on your actual throttle cable and your spring return. So once you back those right off, that'll give you some slack in your cables here. I took the little ball holders off the end, and they'll slide right out of your grip. Another thing is you might not want to take your brake lever right off, just because you've got your brake line and you don't want to bend that, right? So just take the bottom one out, back this one way off so it is just sitting up there, but it keeps the brake line in the right position where it should be without bending it. And you also have to be mindful, this activates your brake light switch, so it's actually in when the brake light's off, and when you pull the lever, it lets the switch come out. So you have to be careful. What I did is just, I stuck a little piece of screwdriver in the end here, a piece of steel that I had in the end here, and it holds it off so that when you take it off, you don't actually snap this delicate little brake light switch off that you couldn't see anyway. But anyways, you get the idea. So now we'll clean this up really good, and so it's, of course, has to slide back and forth on here, so we'll clean and lubricate, and nice no edges in here, and we'll get ready to run the wires through the bars. Okay, quick overview on the kit. So the left side grip has the control for the heat, and that's the one that also has, so you remove that little gray ring right here so it slides over the bar. This is the piece that will connect to the wire you're going to run through the bar from the right hand side, and the wiring couldn't be easier. So you've got a positive and a negative, and you're going to tie this into your fuse panel. All the adapters are included in the kit, what you need to do. So you just negative or positive, negative, tells you where to ground the negative, but the switch is controlled by another positive wire that you need to control off of a switched source, so off your ignition that's not on unless your ignition's on, so that you can't run your battery dead, right? Okay, so we're at the point now we need to run the wires through, and I had to do something kind of weird. So you're like, what's that hanging out there? This is plastic air line from the airbags that I put on my dually. And the reason that I ran plastic line through there is because I had no luck with either just, I had both stainless steel wire. I tried that. I tried a coat hanger, and I couldn't get around some corner in here. And I know there's no wiring in the bars on an 07, so it was just a crimp spot or something, and didn't like it. So this slid through quite nicely. So now we tape the wire onto the end and suck it back through, and then we can install that grip. All right, as you can see, I've got this wire taped onto the hose, the grip, and we are ready to start sucking this through. So we'll try to keep some alignment. You want to be careful. I use lots of tape because I really don't want to tear the end of this wire off, and I don't want to knock my camera down. So far so good. The camera's still standing. Everything's a little shaky. I don't know if you noticed that second connector go in. That's because we have to put the extension on. Even though these are stock handlebars, this kit is made for other bikes. And geez, I don't know if that camera's gonna make you sick watching that or what. That's kind of staying there. I'm just gonna have to put up with it for now. Yeah, so the stock bars are 31.5 wide, or sorry, 31 inches wide. So there we go. That's that grip on. And there, that pulled the wires all the way through the bars and out this side. Now we can untape and connect the other bar, and then we can run the power wires down to where we need to. And you went, hey, how come your seat's back on there? Well, actually, I was contemplating what size bars I would like. I was thinking maybe I'll put some different bars on. So I put my seat to set it on there so I could sit here and see what it was like with 13-inch. Okay, so grips on, switches on, clutches back on, brakes on this side, the heated grips on this side, and nice smooth throttle, easy snapback. You got to make sure you didn't bind anything up. Not going to pretend for a second that I enjoyed doing that on the throttle side. They're hooking up those two little cable stops with their little grommets. Was not cool at all. Maybe if you had, you know what, if my daughter was here when she was 6, those little fingers would have done great. These sausage fingers didn't really give me any pleasure doing that. But nonetheless, it's together. Both sides are on. All that's left now is to run this cable down and right into our power supply.